The truth will set you free. But what if the truth is buried so deep it threatens to collapse everything you thought you knew? For decades, shadows have stretched from the clandestine corridors of power, concealing operations so ethically bankrupt, so profoundly disturbing, that their very existence challenges the fabric of our society. We are about to delve into these dark corners of history to uncover shocking experiments conducted under the guise of national security or scientific advancement. These are not mere theories, these are documented transgressions against humanity. Prepare yourself. The following information may be disturbing. It exposes the chilling extent to which power can corrupt and human lives can be reduced to mere variables in a dangerous equation. Our countdown begins with a program that has become synonymous with government overreach and psychological manipulation at number 5, Project MK Ultra. For over 2 decades, spanning from the early 1950s to the mid-1970s, the CIA conducted clandestine experiments on human subjects. The stated goal was to develop mind control techniques, to find a way to extract information or even program individuals against their will. This was the Cold War, and fear of Soviet espionage drove these extreme measures. The methods employed were nothing short of horrific. Subjects were administered high doses of LSD and other psychoactive drugs, often without their knowledge or consent. They endured sensory deprivation, hypnosis, verbal and sexual abuse, and various forms of psychological torture. The victims were often unsuspecting citizens. University students, prisoners, and even ordinary people seeking medical treatment found themselves unknowingly part of a grand, terrifying experiment. Their lives were irrevocably shattered, their minds scarred beyond recognition. When fragments of MK Ultra eventually came to light, largely due to a Senate committee investigation in the mid-1970s, many records had already been deliberately destroyed. The full scope of this project may never be known, leaving a chilling legacy of unanswered questions and profound distrust. The shadow of MK Ultra looms large, a stark reminder of the government's capacity for clandestine, unethical research. It forces us to confront the terrifying reality that the human mind itself can be weaponized. Next, we turn to a chapter in medical history that remains a stain on the conscience of a nation at number 4, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. For 40 years, from 1932 to 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted a study that betrayed every tenet of medical ethics. The subjects were 600 African-American men from Macon County, Alabama, 399 of whom had syphilis and 201 who did not. They were told they were receiving free health care for bad blood, a local term encompassing various ailments. In reality, they were merely being observed. Even after penicillin became a known, effective treatment for syphilis in the 1940s, it was deliberately withheld from these men. Doctors actively prevented them from accessing treatment, ensuring the disease could run its full course. Researchers documented their suffering: blindness, insanity, heart disease, bone damage, and eventually death. The study's purpose was simply to observe the natural progression of untreated syphilis, using human beings as unwitting biological specimens. This betrayal of trust devastated families and communities, eroding faith in the medical establishment for generations. The Tuskegee experiment stands as a monumental breach of ethical conduct, revealing a horrifying disregard for human life and dignity. It serves as a perpetual warning against the dangers of scientific hubris and systemic racism, where vulnerable populations are exploited in the name of research. The echoes of its cruelty resonate even today. Our journey into the clandestine now leads us to a post-World War II operation that raises profound ethical questions at number 3, Project Paperclip. In the immediate aftermath of the war, the US government faced a critical dilemma. Thousands of German scientists, engineers, and technicians, many with direct ties to the Nazi regime, possessed invaluable knowledge in fields like rocketry, aerospace medicine, and chemical warfare. The burgeoning Cold War created an urgent demand for their expertise. Operation Paperclip was the secret program that brought over 1,600 of these individuals to the United States. They were offered lucrative contracts and protection, their past affiliations often deliberately obscured or whitewashed. The justification was clear. America needed their cutting-edge skills to gain an advantage over the Soviet Union. The moral compromise, however, was immense. Individuals who had developed weapons for the Third Reich and in some cases participated in atrocities were given new lives. These scientists, including figures like Wernher von Braun, the architect of the V-2 rocket, became foundational to America's space program and defense industries. Their contributions were undeniable, yet the ethical cost was staggering. How could a nation built on freedom and justice reconcile harboring those who had served a regime of unparalleled evil? Project Paperclip demonstrates the chilling pragmatism that can emerge when national security is deemed paramount, even over fundamental human rights. It asks us to confront the uncomfortable truth that sometimes the lines between victor and vanquished, good and evil, are deliberately blurred in the pursuit of power and technological supremacy. The shadows of these choices linger. We continue our descent into the unsettling number 2 with Project Sunshine, a Cold War experiment that delves into the truly macabre. This clandestine operation, conducted from the late 1950s into the 1960s, sought to understand the effects of radioactive fallout. Specifically, scientists were interested in how strontium-90, a radioactive isotope produced by nuclear bomb tests, was accumulating in the human body. To measure this, they needed samples of human tissue. The method they chose was profoundly disturbing. Project Sunshine secretly collected human remains, primarily bones, from deceased individuals across the world. What makes this even more horrific is that many of these samples came from children. Without the knowledge or consent of grieving families, bodies were exhumed or organs were taken during autopsies. The remains of infants and young children were particularly sought after, as their rapidly developing bones were ideal for measuring strontium-90 absorption. This massive, covert collection program spanned multiple continents, gathering thousands of samples. The sheer scale and secrecy of the operation speak volumes about the moral compromises made in the shadow of the nuclear threat. The profound ethical concerns are undeniable. The desecration of human remains, the violation of families' rights, and the use of the deceased as unwitting experimental subjects represent a shocking disregard for human dignity. Project Sunshine serves as a chilling testament to the lengths governments would go to collect data, even if it meant performing macabre experiments on the dead, without consent, knowledge, or respect. Our top-secret government experiment remains shrouded in ambiguity, yet its impact is undeniable at number 1, the Havana Syndrome mystery. Beginning in late 2016, US and Canadian diplomats and intelligence personnel stationed in Havana, Cuba, began reporting strange, debilitating symptoms. These individuals experienced sudden, acute pressure in their heads, often accompanied by distinct sounds described as piercing or buzzing. This was followed by a host of long-term health issues: dizziness, nausea, intense headaches, cognitive difficulties, and memory loss. The incidents weren't isolated to Cuba. Over the years, similar patterns of symptoms have been reported by US personnel in countries like China, Russia, Austria, and even on American soil. the common thread? Exposure to an unknown, often invisible force. Initial investigations pointed towards a possible sonic attack or directed energy weapon. Medical experts, however, struggled to find conventional explanations for the unique array of neurological damage observed. Brain scans of affected individuals showed differences from healthy brains. The perplexing nature of Havana syndrome has fueled intense speculation. Is it a highly sophisticated weapon developed by a foreign adversary designed to incapacitate without leaving obvious traces? Or is it a clandestine, perhaps experimental, technology gone awry? The lack of definitive answers, coupled with the consistent pattern of symptoms and locations, suggests a targeted campaign. Some hypothesize it could be a psychological warfare tactic, a new form of surveillance, or even an unintended consequence of advanced technology. The official U.S. government stance has evolved, with recent intelligence reports suggesting it's unlikely to be a single, sustained global campaign by a foreign power. Yet, the experiences of those affected are very real, and the scientific community remains divided. The Havana syndrome stands as a chilling modern enigma. It embodies the fear of the unknown, the potential for covert technological warfare, and the unsettling thought that unseen forces could be impacting individuals on a global scale. It is a secret experiment either perpetrated by a hostile entity or a consequence of one's own, whose full truth remains tragically out of reach for its victims. The human cost is immeasurable. Careers derailed, health shattered, lives irrevocably altered by an invisible threat. It reminds us that even in the 21st century, the most dangerous experiments may still be unfolding in the shadows, leaving behind a trail of unexplained suffering. These 5 accounts, from the mind-bending horrors of MKUltra to the perplexing modern mystery of Havana syndrome, paint a disturbing picture. They are not isolated incidents, but recurring themes in the history of power. They remind us that governments, driven by national security, scientific ambition, or even pure hubris, have often crossed ethical boundaries. They have treated human beings as expendable, their lives as mere data points in a larger, darker game. The true scope of such experiments may never be fully known. Records are destroyed, memories fade, and the truth is deliberately obscured. Yet the echoes of their existence continue to reverberate, shaping our trust, or lack thereof, in authority. How many more secrets remain buried? How many more lives have been sacrificed on the altar of clandestine knowledge? The answers, if they ever fully emerge, might be far more unsettling than anything we can imagine. The pursuit of knowledge and power, unchecked by ethical limits, can lead to the darkest corners of human experience. The question remains, how much are we willing to sacrifice for what we call progress or security? And who, ultimately, holds the scales of justice for these unseen victims? The truth is out there, perhaps just beyond our grasp, waiting to expose the full extent of the experiments they tried to bury. And perhaps it is more disturbing than any fiction. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more top 5s.